Hi, everybody. I'm Jake. This is Loot, if you can see him. I make RPG supplements and videos about Pathfinder 2, or PF2. I love this system, and I love this book. War of Immortals is freaking cool. I do want to say it is not as widely useful as the Tion Shaw book. Partly because that book was all about character options, and so there was bound to be something in there for everyone. There isn't actually something in War of Immortals for everyone. But what it does do is awesome. For the most part. So we're going to go over Bloodrager today, obviously. I'm going to read the little bit of lore first. I'm not going to put a separate time in for it because there's not much lore. And there are additional feats that I will go over when it is appropriate for that level of the feat. Bloodrager, class archetype. So this is for Barbarian class. There is a visceral power in blood. It sustains life through its flow. Bloodragers exist throughout societies in different forms. Matangi orcs are demon hunters that turn the power of fiendish blood against its vessels. The Skoan Kwa protect the tombs of their dead, preserved with containers of their fallen companions' blood. This blood is used by their closest living comrades in combat to utilize lost power and knowledge, or drank during festivities to celebrate once more with their companions in battle. I like that. That's a cool tradition. In Ustalov, cloaked ministers perform rituals with the blood of extraplanar entities to feed and strengthen their congregation against all manner of maladies and horrors. In Kazmaron, divine entities coordinate with mortals to provide their blood as catalysts in wars against hidden threats. Whatever the path, Bloodragers have awakened magical powers to become dangerous forces of physical and magical might wherever there is blood to be found. The Bloodrager is being killed by a cat. Will you move? Can you stop pushing things? Thanks. Bloodrager is all about drinking blood. So if you don't want to be drinking blood, which obviously works well with the Dhampir, you're not going to take this class. Alright, so this is a class archetype. I want to say briefly what a class archetype is. A class archetype is you have to be that class of that class archetype, and you change your character's base abilities starting at first level. And you have to take the dedication for the class archetype with your second level class or archetype feat. Because it's an archetype. So it works from there on forward like other archetypes. You can take feats from it or not with class feats or archetype feat alternate rule feats. That was a sentence. It made sense altogether. Alright, Bloodrager. So at first level, here are the changes to Barbarian. You use the power of ingested blood to generate magical power and fuel you in combat, transforming you into a horrifyingly fearsome opponent. You must select Bloodrager dedication as your second level class feat. Prerequisites, you must be a Barbarian. Bloodrager adjustments. You are trained in athletics, medicine, and a number of additional skills equal to 2 plus your intelligence modifier instead of your normal starting skill proficiencies. You must choose the Bloodrager instinct presented below for your Barbarian instinct. I'll get to it in a minute, but all your spells have the rage trait, so you can cast spells while you're raging. Bloodrager instinct. Drinking the potent magical blood of supernatural creatures has changed you and awakened magical power within you along with a grim thirst. Blood Rage instinct ability. When raging, your physical attacks deal extra persistent bleed damage equal to half your additional damage from rage. When you cast a spell that requires a spell attack roll while raging, apply the additional damage from rage to that spell even on a failure. So that's cool. A little bit of extra damage. Specialization ability. When using Blood Rage, increase the additional damage from rage from 2 to 4. If you have greater weapon specialization, instead increase the damage from 4 to 8. Raging resistance. You resist slashing damage and persistent bleed damage, which is so freaking nice. Persistent bleed damage sucks. And is like the most common form of persistent damage. Anyway, you resist slashing damage and persistent bleed damage, as well as damage dealt by the creature whose blood you last drank using Harvest Blood. See below. Regardless of the damage type. These things are surprisingly protected by their Bloodrager-iness. Alright, Bloodrager feats, starting with the dedication. Bloodrager dedication, feat 2. It has the traits Archetype, Class, and Dedication. Prerequisites: Bloodrager. Drinking powerful blood has awakened magical potential within you. You gain a spell repertoire with 2 cantrips of your choice from either the Arcane or Divine spell list. I thought it was going to be restricted to Arcane for some reason, but that's cool. You choose these cantrips from the common spells for your tradition or from other spells you have access to on that tradition spell list. At least 1 cantrip must require a spell attack roll. You're trained in spell attack modifier and spell DC. Your key spellcasting attribute for these spells is Charisma, as you probably expected. So it's like an Intimidation Barbarian, because you're going to be focusing on Charisma. Spells in your repertoire gain the Rage trait while you are raging, and when you cast a spell from your repertoire, you become Drained 1. Or increase the value of your Drained condition by 1. Which, I don't have to tell people, sucks. You can reduce the value of this condition only by harvesting blood. See below. There's a Dhampir lineage that reduces your Drained condition effect on you by 1. That'd be great to have with this class. You become trained in Arcana if you chose Arcane cantrips, or Religion if you chose Divine cantrips. If you were already trained in this skill, you become trained in a skill of your choice. You also gain the Harvest Blood action. Harvest Blood, 1 action. Requirements: your last action was a successful piercing or slashing melee strike against a creature that is not immune to bleed. Effect: you consume the blood lingering upon your weapon. So you're licking your weapons. So don't poison your blades. No, technically it's fine. There's no mechanical interaction there, but it makes sense that there would be. You reduce the value of your Drained condition by 1, gain temporary hit points equal to your Constitution modifier, and gain a +1 circumstance bonus to saving throws against that creature's spells for 1 minute, or until you harvest blood from another creature. That's just 1 action to take, and it has no limit on how many times you can do this per day or per round, or per turn. Well, I guess there would be a limit on per turn, but not per fight. So you deal damage to a creature that can bleed, and then you lick your weapon, and then you reduce the value of your Drained condition by 1, which you get from casting spells and other things that are in this archetype, and gain temporary hit points equal to your Con modifier, and gain a +1 circumstance bonus to saving throws against that creature's spells for a minute. This is so good. This is very useful. I like the mechanics of it so far. And of course the flavor, because blood. Next feat, level 4, Blood Calls Blood. It's a reaction. It has the traits Archetype and Fortune. Prerequisites: Bloodrager Dedication. Okay, so all of these are going to be Archetype and Bloodrager Dedication. I'm not going to read those again. Trigger: you fail a flat check to cast a spell, or your spell would be disrupted by another creature's reaction. Well, barbarians aren't that great at spells, so, it can happen. The magical potency of your blood will not be denied. Using this reaction, you finish casting the spell, then become Drained 1, or increase the value of your Drained condition by 1. That's amazing. Somebody is counteracting your spell, or you're in melee, and they hit you to interrupt your spell. You're like, no, I'm just going to lose blood for the spell to happen anyway. Fuck yes, this was necessary to play a barbarian caster in melee combat. Another feat you have access to at level 4 is Split Shot. This is from Sorcerer, so I'm just going to read it from Archives. You can see it on your screen. It has the Concentrate, Metamagic, and Sorcerer traits. It's 1 action, so this is a spell shape effect. You fragment a ranged spell into a pair of smaller shots. If your next action is to cast a spell without a duration that requires an attack roll against a single target and has no effect beyond dealing damage, you can roll a single attack roll and compare the result to the AC of 2 targets within the spell's range. The spell deals only half its usual damage to each target. This counts as 1 attack for your multiple attack penalty. That could be useful depending on the kind of Bloodrager you are making. It's not always going to be useful for this class archetype. Great. Next feat, level 4, Rising Blood Magic. The power within your blood grows. You gain the basic spellcasting benefits. And at level 4, that just means you get first level spells. 1 of them. Each time you gain a spell slot of a new rank from the Bloodrager archetype, add a common spell of the appropriate tradition and rank to your repertoire. In addition, when you cast a spell from your repertoire, and you are at least Drained 1, increase the extra damage dealt by that spell from Rage by 1. So really, like, drained 1 is where you want to stay, which is why I said that dump here lineage would really help. The dump here lineage is Svetoker. And if you take it, then the penalty to your fortitude saves and your hit points is reduced by 1. Like, your drained condition is considered 0 for those 2 things. You still take penalties to constitution rolls that are not fortitude, but I don't know what else that would be. So obviously, very useful if you're looking for a way to maximize this class. Class archetype, it's the same thing. It's a class, it's an archetype, it's a class archetype. Next feat, level 6, Siphon Magic. 1 action, it has the Rage trait. Requirements, your last action was to harvest the blood of a creature that can cast spells. I love how interesting this archetype is. You gorge upon the magical energies of your foe's blood. You regain 1 expended spell slot that must be of a lower rank than the highest rank spell you can cast. So it's at 6th level, you just gained a second rank spell of Arcane or Divine. And so you could get a first level slot back. First rank slot. You become drained 1 or increase the value of your drain condition by 1. You can do this an unlimited number of times per day. God, I love this! This archetype was built well. Whoever made this one did a good job. At 8th level, you also have the option of taking the feat Bespell Strikes. It's a free action. It's usually for Oracle, Sorcerers, and Wizards. Once per turn, if your most recent action was to cast a non-cantrip spell, use Siphon spell energy into 1 weapon you're wielding or into one of your unarmed attacks, such as a fist. Until the end of your turn, the weapon or unarmed attack deals an extra 1d6 force damage and gains the arcane trait if it didn't have it already. If the spell dealt a different type of damage, the strike deals this type of damage instead, or 1 type of your choice if the spell could deal multiple types of damage. It's a free action, once per turn. That's actually frequently going to be useful. But it has to be non-cantrip spells. But the cool thing about the Bloodrager is you keep getting more spells if you are drinking the blood of something that casts spells. So you're, like, really good at taking down things that have spells with your spells. It's a really good class archetype. Next feat, level 8, Spell Drinker. 1 action, prerequisites Rising Blood Magic, which is basic spellcasting benefits. Gives you first, second, and third level rank spell, eventually. Requirements, your last action was to harvest blood. Frequency, once per hour. You temporarily add a 3rd rank spell to your spell repertoire, as determined by the type of creature whose blood you just drank. See table below. I'll explain the table in a moment. If the creature has more than one of the listed traits, choose one and gain the appropriate spell. If the granted spell is not on your chosen tradition's list, you cast the spell as though it was from your chosen tradition. The spell is removed from your spell repertoire after 24 hours, the next time you use Spell Drinker, or when you next make your daily preparations, whichever comes first. This is only once per hour, but that still means it's once per fight. So if you harvest blood on an aberration, you get the spell Vampiric Feast as a 3rd rank spell. Just in your repertoire to use until 24 hours, or you next make your daily preparations, or you use this ability again, so after an hour. So for aberration, drinking their blood gives you a Vampiric Feast. If it's an animal or a beast, then you gain Summon Animal. And a note here says, summoned creatures appear as otherworldly versions of the creature whose blood you drank. If you use Harvest Blood on a Celestial, you get the spell Holy Light, which is not useful against Celestials. If you use Harvest Blood on a creature with the Dragon trait, you get the Blazing Bolt spell, but, note here, instead of fire damage, the spell deals the same damage as the Dragon Breath of the dragon whose blood you drank, if applicable, which is also not useful. So yeah, I'm going to drink the blood of a fire dragon, and then I can throw fire at the fire dragon. That's totally going to kill it. I just don't like it. Like, I'm fine with, like, all of these in this list staying the same as long as it says, in addition, that you automatically overcome their resistance or immunity to that type of damage. I mean, it sort of makes sense to me that could be the case because, like, you're using their own magic against them. Like, you're sort of channeling mystical energy through the bond you created to harm them. Sort of like a thaumaturge. But if it's just a lightning dragon shot lightning at me, and then I stabbed it, and I get a lightning spell, what am I going to do with that? Shoot my friends? That's helpful. Alright, so next trait. If it's the Fey trait, you get the spell Wall of Thorns, which is actually useful. If it has the Fiend trait, you get the spell Chilling Darkness. If it has the Giant trait, you get Pummeling Rubble, which is good. If the creature whose blood you drink has the Humanoid trait, you get the spell Crisis of Faith. If it has the Monitor trait, you get Impending Doom, which is useful. These are very hit or miss. So the only way I can see this working perfectly well is if in every situation there are multiple types of enemies present, which means you need to talk to your GM, and the GM needs to be prepared to have multiple kinds of enemies in the area that are vulnerable to that type of damage that you just got the ability to use. Or just say that it automatically bypasses any resistance or immunity that creature has, which seems like the easiest thing to do. I have to pause here for a moment because I was also sent the document that has errata and corrections for this book, and most of it is in Bloodrager. I know, it's kind of silly, but it is. So I'm going to read what this text in the bottom of the chart says first, and then tell you the correction, because you're going to see it in the book where it's wrong, and I want you to be aware that it doesn't work that way. So it says under the Spell Drinker chart, for all of the different types of creatures you can drink the blood of and get spells, special, if you have Surging Blood Magic, which is a later feat, level 12, you can see it on your screen, you can add the spell at 6th rank. If you have Exultant Blood Magic, you can add the spell at 8th rank. Those numbers are wrong. The correct numbers are 4th and 7th. So it should say, if you have Surging Blood Magic, you can add the spell at 4th rank. If you have Exultant Blood Magic, you can add the spell at 7th rank. That's what it's supposed to be. More will come up soon. Next feat, level 10, Hematocritical. It's a free action. It has the Fortune and Rage traits. Requirements. Your last action was a strike that critically hit a creature that isn't immune to bleed damage. You bathe in the arterial fluids of your enemy, drinking deep of their freed essence to empower your magic and increase your spellcasting efficacy. Just way over the top. It's great. If your next action is to cast a spell that requires a spell attack roll, you roll the spell attack roll twice and use the better result. This is a fortune effect, obviously. Alternatively, if your next action is to cast a spell that requires the creature damaged by the triggering strike to attempt a save, they roll twice and take the lower result. This is a misfortune effect, also obviously. But this is great. It's a free action. You can do this as often as you want, and it just helps you do your spells. The Bloodrager is built so well. Sure, there's typos, but so what? They're correcting them. The mechanics are great. Okay, yeah, Spell Drinker has issues, but just allow the spells to hurt the thing you took the blood from, and it makes sense. At level 12, you also have the option of taking the feat Energy Ward. It's legacy content. It's usually sorcerer only. It's a free action. Frequency once per turn. Requirements. Your most recent action was to cast a non-cantrip spell that dealt energy damage. You trap energy from the last spell you cast within your body, coating your flesh in a protective ward until the start of your next turn. You gain resistance 5 to one type of energy damage dealt by the spell you just cast. This is stupid. I mean, as a feat, it's just a stupid idea for a feat. Because if you're using an energy, like nothing that I can think of, maybe it's out there, but I don't think anything, like throws fire and is vulnerable to fire. So you're not going to be using fire against the thing to get fire resistance from the fire energy they throw. This is just useless in almost every situation. Certainly not worth a feat. Maybe worth a skill feat? Anyway, I don't like this feat. It's not that great. There's one minor change in Surging Blood Magic. It's right at the beginning, so I'll just say it real quick. Level 12 feat, Surging Blood Magic. Prerequisites, Rising Blood Magic. It says Master in Religion or Occultism. This class archetype is based on Arcana or Religion, Arcana or Divine spells. So the Occultism is just incorrect. It's supposed to be Arcana or Religion, depending on your chosen tradition. Your blood courses with magic. You gain the expert spellcasting benefits. In addition, when you cast a spell from your repertoire and you are at least drained 2, increase the extra damage dealt by that spell from rage by an additional 2 for a total of 3. Cool. Extra damage. That's great. And it comes along with more spells. Yay! There's 2 errors in Exultant Blood Magic, so I'll I'll just point them out along the way. Level 18 feat, Exultant Blood Magic. It says prerequisites, Surging Blood Magic, that's correct. Legendary in Religion or Occultism, depending on your chosen tradition, that's wrong. It should be Arcana or Religion, depending on your chosen tradition. Also, it says here that the second sentence should just be ignored and replaced by something else. So, the first sentence is, the magic in your blood sings an exultant song of battle. The second sentence is supposed to say, you gain the master spellcasting benefits. So you just get more spells. What it did say is, you become a master in spell attack rolls and DC. That's just not what it does. Not what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to give you more spells. Increase the spell slots you gain from the Bloodrager archetype feats by 1 for each spell rank. In addition, when you cast a spell from your repertoire and you are at least drained 2, double the extra damage dealt by that spell from Rage instead. Aside from the little mistakes that are silly typos and like not getting the mechanics right, but they corrected them, and aside from having to use an ability on a creature that's naturally immune to it, this is an amazing class archetype. So, if you just take the new changes that they should also be releasing with the book, and just allow those abilities to hurt the thing you took it from, this is an amazing class archetype. It really does make a barbarian that uses magic work really well and still really feel like a barbarian. I mean, you're casting spells by drinking the blood of your enemy after making them bleed to death. Of course that's barbarianish. And the art's cool too. This is awesome. Good. Thumbs up from me. Not everything is made this well. So that is it for the Bloodrager. Thank you for joining me today. Overall, it's a great option. This is not the last video for War of Immortals by far and away. I'll be coming out with one as often as I can. I'm shooting for every day. Hope I get it. I might. We've been feeling under the weather, so we might not. But I'm going to try to. If you're a patron, thank you for patronizing me and helping the channel and the kitties all the time. I appreciate you guys. So for the month of Halloween, sure, it's the whole month is Halloween. Why not? I said it was Halloween in September. We're doing blood-flecked dice, which is perfect for this video. There's going to be 4 drawings for this, and there's going to be a video coming out soon that you will make a comment in order to be included in the giveaway. It's going to be for blood-speckled dice. They will be inked. They're not yet. But it's going to be for a patron set that is 9 dice, a YouTube subscriber that is a set of 9 dice, a YouTube subscriber that is for a 45mm D20, and one that is for subscribers that is a set of 6 D6s. And I will hopefully be coming out with that video soon, so you can win the dice and get the dice soon. If you're interested in seeing the rest of the War of Immortals playlist, it'll be here. Or if you'd like to see any of the builds I made, builds are here. Thank you for being here. Okay, thanks, bye.